In this video, I want to talk about switch, for loop, and while loop. Sometimes it happens in programming that we have or want to have several blocks of ready-to-run code in order to use them when necessary. In these cases, it is better to use the switch structure. Let me explain more in the form of an example. Suppose we are writing a program in which we want to print one of the days of the week whenever necessary. For this, as you can see, according to the switch structure, we wrote 7 cases, and in each of them, it prints the name of one of the days of the week. And also in the parentheses in front of the switch, we put an int variable as input, which if we consider any number from 1 to 7, finally, the name of one of the days of the week is printed. The switch expression is evaluated once. The value of the expression is compared with the values of each case. If there is a match, the associated block of code is executed. Now, in the example you saw, I want to explain the words break and default more. When C# reaches a break keyword, it breaks out of the switch block. This will stop the execution of more code and case testing inside the block. When a match is found, and the job is done, it's time for a break. There is no need for more testing. A break can save a lot of execution time because it ignores the execution of all the rest of the code in the switch block. Now let's go to the default. The default keyword is optional and specifies some code to run if there is no case match. So let's review together once more. For example, the switch input shows the number 3, which means the 3rd day of the week. Switch comes and tests the cases one by one, with its own input, and enters each case that matches and executes the codes inside it line by line, and when it reaches break, it stops everything and exits the structure. If no match is found, default will help us and finish the matter. Okay, let's go and talk about loops. Pay attention to what I say. I drive until I reach my destination. What do you think of this sentence? I will continue to drive until I reach my destination. I repeat driving until I reach my destination. I stop driving only when I reach my destination. My goal from the previous sentences was to embed the main concept of using loops in programming. In loops, we repeat a task until we reach a specific goal, and after we reach that goal, we stop repeating. Loops can execute a block of code as long as a specified condition is reached. It is better to go to the while loop. I will give you an example. As you can see, I defined an int variable and set its value to 0. In the next line, you will see the word while. I used a comparison operator inside the parentheses. In the next line, I printed my variable, and in the next line, I said add 1 to my variable. The question that arises is what happens by writing these codes. In fact, we made a condition here and said that as long as my variable is smaller than 7, print the value of my variable in the output and add 1 to it each time. Now I will run the program to see what happened together. As you can see, C# came and checked the number 0 and saw that it is smaller than the number 7 and printed it and added 1 to it and repeated this until it reached the number 7. The number 7 is not smaller than itself, so the condition is no longer true, so the number 7 is not printed. Now it is better to introduce do while to you. As you can see, it is very similar to the while loop, and the only difference is that the work is done the first time, even if the condition we set is false. But from the second time, everything will be similar to the while loop. In the brackets after the word do, we write what we want to be done, and then we write how to increase our variable, and then we get to the condition. We just have to remember to write the increment of our variable, because if we forget, the program will continue to infinity. Next, we get to the for loop. As you can see, we have the word for, and inside the parentheses we see 3 expressions that are separated by semicolons. And inside the brackets there is a command to print a variable. Well, what's going on? Inside the parentheses we defined a variable in the first statement. In the second statement we set a condition, and in the third statement we defined how to increase the variable. As you can see, for the first time the initial value of the variable is printed, and then 2 is added to it. The new number is 2. It is checked in the condition, and then printed, and then 2 is added to it. This process continues until the conditions are no longer true. Well, let's go to nested loops. It is also possible to place a loop inside another loop. This is called a nested loop. The inner loop will be executed one time for each iteration of the outer loop. I think you will understand the issue with the explanations I have given, and the example you see.